Did you drink the signed can? Is that what happened?
Well, yeah, it was because I didn't want, and I usually pick on people if they don't use all the same sponsors. Like it needs if it's a Jimmy bike, it has Fast Company flex handlebar, Scott steering stabilizer. You're running Nitro Mooses. Bob says, I'm here and the pick sucks. Oh, it's not like we wouldn't talk about you right in front of you, Bob. So just...
Yeah, that's true. Like every OEM brings you out to a press launch and they schmooze you. They give you great food. They try and put you up in a nice hotel. They're doing everything they can to, as not explicitly as possible, influence you to say nice things about their product.
You are the winner of Takamoto's Rooster Endo. I don't care what anybody else says. Actually, you won it in the chat because only one other person voted you up. But welcome to Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, episode number 282, if my notes are correct. My name is Jimmy Lewis. This is the pod show, cast, stream, live mistake that I do almost every Tuesday, where you ask your motorcycle and motorcycle product related questions, and I do my best to answer them with all of my concussions that I've had and my face blindness and sometimes just a lot of experience. But as usual, we're here. Had my tacos. I'm all good. I have another guest that I am excited about because last week we had Colton Udall, who won the Nora Mexican 1000, and this week I have another Nora Mexican 1000 competitor who did it a little bit different. And I was impressed with how him and his buddy did the race, and I kind of wanted to dive down in it because I honestly, when I'm watching these guys do these things, I'm always fascinated by the stories, the way that they do it. And I don't know the full story, so I'm going to get to the bottom of it, hopefully. And I think that you guys can learn a ton from this. So welcome to the show, Joe Jackson.
Hey, what's going on? I just want to say right off the bat, doing things a little differently is a really nice way to say 12 hours slower overall than Colton. So I appreciate that.
I wasn't even going to get into that. the time difference. I don't, when I'm in charge of this stuff, I don't look at results that much. And so like the only time I really have to look at results is when people send in like, inquiries and protests and stuff like that. Other than that, I kind of have a pretty good idea who's winning and whatnot. And I kind of see where you're finishing, but I'm just more worried about the whole thing kind of flowing. And so, Joe, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you come from, how you got to Nora, and we'll just kind of start there.
Yeah. So my name is Joe Jackson. Originally, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Moved out to SoCal in the LA area about 4 years ago now. And tell by the hat, I'm not fast enough to be sponsored, but I do work for these guys. So big shout out to Quadlock. I do all their content in North America. And yeah, Nora was honestly the entire idea behind doing this was my buddy Gideon's fault. So Gideon couldn't join us today. But Gideon quickly became one of my best friends when I first moved out here to Southern California. And we kind of started riding dirt together about 4 years ago, right when I moved to California, basically, on a big adventure bikes. And we were at a buddy's house for New Year's Eve, and we were doing the thing, go around the room, tell us your New Year's resolution. And he's like, I think I want to do the Nora 1000. And I was like, what is that? And he's like, oh, it's a rally race in Mexico. And I was like, that sounds cool. Let's do it together. And the rest is kind of history. That was the year, I think we decided to do it after Justin Dawes had made his film with his news outlet, kind of documenting the race. And we watched it and we were like, yeah, this looks sick. Like, let's do it. And yeah, we just kind of jumped headfirst in.
So it's funny because, over the years we've had different guys that have come, and Nora's been frankly horrible with the motorcycle media promoting it and whatnot, unfortunately. But we have had some outlets like that was Cycle World, whatever Cycle World is these days. I was an editor at Cycle World for 12 years, but back in the glory days. But we've had, and when Alexander Smith came and did it on the Ducati, they produced some pretty good content, and it did. So that's how Gideon found out about it.
Yeah, we both, it was those films, really. It was the Ducati film and then the film Dawes did. And I think between the time we both agreed to give this a shot and 2 weeks ago, we probably watched both of those 4 or 5 times just to see like what, if any, information we could kind of glean from them. I mean, and I'm sure we'll get into this in a little bit, but like the world of rally as it pertains to like the view of the United States is still very niche. It's nowhere near as popular as it is in the rest of the world. And so finding information or like just getting a better understanding or talking to people who've actually done the race is not a small task in its own.
No. So you said you came out here and you started on adventure bikes. So what kind of bikes were you riding then? And then we'll get into the bike you were racing and how that came about.
Yeah. So when let's see, this was 2022. Yeah, 2022. I'd quit my job at RevZilla. I was on the design team there, and I decided I wanted to move to California. And I sold everything I owned, and I threw it all on a KTM 890 Adventure R and rode to Los Angeles, and that's where I landed. And I thought, this is basically a dirt bike. It's going to be a great way to learn to ride off road. And then 2 weeks later, after meeting Gideon, he was like, "Hey, let's go out to the desert." And I purposely ignored every invitation for like 6 months because I was terrified of going in the sand and dropping my very expensive, very new KTM and screwing it up, for lack of better words. And from there, I had sold that because I had a ton of issues with it. Shocker. Then I had a Ducati Desert X, and that's kind of what I really rode off-road mostly for about 2.5 years and got some training and got better. And then slowly, as I'm sure is a shock to no one, the bikes kept getting a little bit smaller every time I'd replace it with something else. And so the Cove, which is what I raced at Nora this year, was the smallest bike I'd ridden off-road until very recently.
Yeah. So when I look at it, it was like that was a very smart decision to ride a Cove. So because it's got the gas tanks already, and half of our problem is people that show up with bikes that don't have the right amount of gas. It's not that difficult because it is a rally styled shaped bike. It has the mounting area for doing your road book and things like that. They're durable. I know this because I've ridden them a bit, and I've never seen that. I swear to this day, it's the cleanest oil I've ever seen come out of an engine. So, and the engines are, to me, feel like they're a little bit under stress. They're not that powerful, but it's plenty to get the job done. And so like right away, it was like, okay, that's a good decision. You're not showing up on a bike that's 1 year older than me, which means it's ancient. And then, or you're showing up on a bike that hasn't been started in 20 years, and you're just going to pull grandpa's MR125 Honda out of the garage and show up at the start line in Nora, even though maybe you haven't ever ridden a motorcycle in the dirt.
Right.
Or maybe you're going to bring a KLR that runs on diesel, and you're deathly scared of sand. And I'm just using these examples because these are other people who have shown up at the start line.
That's
so
insane.
Well, I think so, but it's normal for them. Maybe they just do these kind of things. So, and I really don't get to see anybody. I see you guys on the Zoom meetings we have before. I don't really see you until you show up at the start line in the morning, because I'm not kind of at tech inspection when people are rolling through stuff like this. And so when I shot, this year when everybody lined up, I think I was only a little bit worried about the Triumph.
Yep.
And you can see why in the beginning. But it was like you guys were setting yourself up, for success, and this is kind of the message I'm hopefully trying to convey. And this is the story I would like to tell people, is that if you're going to do something that's kind of a big thing, you know, like climbing Mount Everest and stuff, don't all of a sudden tell everybody you're going to do it barefoot, even though you've never done it before.
Yeah.
If I can use an analogy that would make sense.
Well, I think the best and worst advice I've ever gotten when it comes to like people like or particularly like newer riders, let's say first 4 or 5 years, you're getting ready to buy your second bike, whatever it is. The best advice for that I got is buy the wrong bike. Like you won't know if you like a style of riding or segment until you do it, and more than just for a 10-minute test drive around a dealership. But it's also the worst advice ever if you're going racing for the first time. And we had plenty of problems, not with the bike in particular, but plenty of problems at Nora that we just didn't know were going to happen until we got there. That made me very happy to be on a reliable and very well set up motorcycle for the most part. Yeah, the less than a year. So essentially, well, I should say exactly a year. We'll call it that. And the first time I ever ran a road book was April a year ago, and that was at SoCal Rally. And I was totally green. Cove was pretty new to me still. I was in the worst shape of I think my entire adult life, and I'm not a great off-road rider now, but I was much worse then. And it was trial by fire. I think I made it 120 Ks in and I bailed out. I couldn't walk for like 2 days afterwards. I like felt lucky to be alive. I was like, what the fuck are we doing? This is crazy. And I'll give myself one excuse. This was the year that they told everyone to bring your two strokes. So it was much less traditional like rally roads and a little bit more enduro. And the Cove is a pretty big bike, especially if you're a less experienced rider in those kind of scenarios. So, but yeah, other than that, I've run maybe 4 or 5 road books in the 10 months leading up to Nora, and that's kind of it.
Right. So when, you know, we just kind of talk about, so Nora Mexican 1000 is a road book rally. It's like a real rally. I was the race director, but it's one of those aspirational things. Like I have people come to me all the time, and whether you're going to ride to the Alcon, I'm going to ride the Alcon Highway. I'm going to ride here. I'm going on a trip down in South America. And this is, you know, definitely more prevalent when I was doing the riding school. Like, what do I need to do? And I have a lot of experience, so I would kind of, you know, give people these kind of stepping stones on where to go. So it's you know, there's definitely ways to do things, and everybody kind of has a different path. But my first thing when you're doing this is when you don't know, go find somebody else who's done it and start asking a lot of questions. And I think, you know, even with Nora, there's not a whole lot of guys that have done it. But how did Gideon kind of figure out what? So he triggered from the videos and stuff he saw.
Yeah, more or less.
And does he have any racing background?
None at all. So
okay,
Gideon,
did you have any racing background?
No, not even a little bit.
I'm so glad you didn't just go say, I'm going to do the Baja 1000.
Oh my God. No, I'm smarter than that, at least. Not by much, but just enough.
Yeah. So it was so this was basically your first actual competition?
Technically, no. I do once a year. There's a race that the folks at Biltwell put on in Ridgecrest called the Biltwell 100. Right. Super fun race, but I mean the motto is good times, not lap times. There's a class from pull start bikes. There's a Coleman class all the way up to a Pro 450 class. So the level of competitiveness entirely depends on what you're feeling when you wake up that day. And the easiest classes is 125-mile lap. The hardest class is 4 25-mile laps, so thus the 100 miles. So I've done that 3 or 4 times. A fellow competitor at Nora this year, Steve Montana, has done it several years. And Gilles, actually, the guy riding the 66 Triumph, has also raced that bike at Biltwell the last 2 or 3 years in a row, I think. Right. So that was my real intro to any sort of racing. I didn't start riding motorcycles until I was 22.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've heard, and I actually talked to one of the organizers of Biltwell because we were trying to figure out how we could get more. The whole thing was like, how are we going to get more entries at Nora's Baja? And there a couple of those guys had done it, tried to do it on Harleys. It was before my time.
Oh, yeah.
and so, and everybody was trying to do it on these different kind of weird vintage bikes. But once we introduced kind of navigation in, which was the only way that I felt comfortable with having a certain level of safety, because navigation slows you down just a little bit, and it for sure marks the dangers. You know, the dangerous stuff is marked in the road book. And since the course isn't marked, like, you know, most typical racing, or you're not allowed to pre-run, you know, and people say, well, I just want a GPS file with a line on it. It's like, then how do you know where the dangers are? We'll put a waypoint at it. And it's like, well, then how do you know whether it's, you know, a level 1, a level 2, a level 3? There's just a lot of these things that don't necessarily work with the GPS and stuff. So, and then with the vintage bikes, they kind of can't power a road book, or they don't go the distances that we would need them to go to get to the places where you would want to ride, as opposed to where you have to ride. And that was kind of some of the challenge in, you know, getting those guys to come. They're and like always, you talk to them and they're like, oh yeah, well, we'll do it next year.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, I can't tell you, I got a call 2 hours ago from a good friend of mine. Him and all his buddies are going to come and do the 10-day NORA next year. And they're like, how much fuel range do you need? I go, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean? Aren't you going to be doing it? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I was my swan song here this year. It was just, we kind of knew going into the event, basically how many entries we would need to kind of continue with the partnership. And so I'm stoked you guys got to ride that last course, because that was, I don't know if I could make 10 days of that.
Yeah.
It's getting difficult.
God, I mean, like, I know obviously when you step up to a longer rally, like Dakar, doing anything like that, it's long, but there's a great picture of Gideon that is not in that folder I sent you, but we're in our hotel rooms after the first day, which was, I think, one of our longest days. It was like 500 Ks or just a little over that, including the liaisons. And he's just kind of staring at the wall, and he turns to me. He's like, dude, can you believe we have to do 5 more days of this? And I was like, no, I have no idea how we're going to do this. This is brutal.
Yeah, I'm going to tell my story when I saw you guys at the start line, and just kind of how so, you know, I don't want to say that I judge people, because I don't judge people. I kind of make a decision. I've already done it before. And I mean, you guys had, like I said, you had good gear. Your bikes looked like they were set up well. There was all kinds of stuff, but there was just something that I don't want to use the wrong word here, but I'm going to say reeked of beginner.
We were a little too excited.
But it wasn't bad. It was like I think this is going to be okay. And when the Triumph kind of came up with doing burnouts before the start,
yeah,
and I got to really like that guy afterwards. So I'll tell you. So there's just for the record here. So the Triumph didn't do the first 2.5 days of the rally. Unfortunately, it broke some kind of a part that literally wasn't just an easy fix, and these guys were driving it down the peninsula, finding like garages to go in and work on it, and they thought they'd have it fixed. They'd say, okay, we're ready to go, and literally just before they were going to take off again, something would go wrong. And this happened probably 4 or 5 times, because I was sort of in contact. We had a tracker on them, and we were wondering why they were driving all over south of Ensenada, we thought they went to a really nice hotel, but they went to a guy's shop near the really nice hotel. Just, they were wandering around trying to get started. And then when he finally got going, I'm like, well, I literally told our sweep guys, I said, well, probably going to be picking him up in 10 minutes, just based on what was going on. No, he took off and rode like a bat out of hell on that thing, and did really well once they got all the problems sorted out. So I kind of had to, and seemed like he had a great time as well.
Oh man, yeah, it was kind of cool. We actually ended up for the last 2 or 3 days, we ended up kind of going back and forth quite a bit. Gilles is a really good flat track rider. That's kind of his specialty.
Yeah.
And those last couple days, there was a lot more like hard pack with some looser stuff on top, and I remember I hit he's doing a film and all his content and stuff as part of a sponsorship with Triumph Heritage. That's part of the reason why he was dressed in blue jeans and Red Wing boots and a half helmet like a crazy. And I think he was even running Steve McQueen's old race number, if I remember correctly. But I was like, oh yeah, like, hey, I know you're faster than me on this hard pack stuff. If you do pass me, like hang back for a little bit, I'll film you. Cause like it's impossible for your guys to get this kind of you can't get chase footage.
Right.
And so I hear him coming up behind me and I hit record and I was like, oh, he's moving pretty good. I can keep up with him for probably 2 or 3 minutes. Maybe
I know where you're going with this.
Two
one.
or three corners. He was gone. I mean, just banging it off the rev limiter, bars full lock. I mean, but so smooth. His lines, but these are all blind corners. We haven't ridden any of this before. But he was so smooth. He was so fast. And then anytime we got to really fast, sandy stuff, I would just walk right past by him because he couldn't go. I think he was geared. He was limited to about 68, 70 miles an hour before he was worried about the valves.
Right. But I thought you were going to tell the story about when he passed you on the road going out of San Ignacio.
Oh,
Do you have that video?
I don't. Oh, you mean the crash?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I know you said you turned it off, but you said you might have got it.
I actually have. I'll send this to you so you can put it up, but it's not technically in the video. So I was riding behind him. We were in a group of like 6, 7 guys, so the visibility was terrible. And I even say, and you can kind of hear it on the camera, I go, "This is sketchy. I'm gonna back off because I can't see anything." And right as I back off, about like 9, 10 bike lengths away, I hit stop to stop recording, and he just fucking launches over the bars, hits a hard edge bump on the right side.
And he had at least 3 inches of suspension travel. At least.
I think 4 1/4 is what he said they had in the back. And I mean, he had to be 8, 10 feet in the air. I mean, he soared. But I went back and I looked at the GoPro footage, and I had the last 3 frames of the video are him right as he goes over the bars.
Oh, gee.
And he's wearing a camera, so he has the crash from his perspective.
Oh, he has it. Oh boy.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to that video.
Yeah.
If you want to find it, it's on his Instagram, which I believe is the Road Show or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm literally social media inept for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, I can turn mine on and maybe post something every once in a while.
It's the roadshow.enduro is his Instagram handle. And they did like a reel or a video every day recapping, and he's got a great video for that day with the crash in it. And
at the roadshow.enduro.
Yes. Yeah, yellow circle is his like profile picture thing.
Okay. .enduro. I'm gonna just put that up in the chat. It's funny, my chat seems like it's not doing too well right now. Usually I see it kind of spinning and I can't see any stuff on it, but the technical difficulty is completely the norm here. At least the sound's working from what I can tell.
Yeah.
Nobody's commented back. Usually when the sound doesn't work, all of our regulars will say, "Hey, you forgot to turn your microphone on," which is
right.
Kind of regular for me. By the way, this show would not be possible with the help of some of our sponsors, which are floating up on the screen behind my usually bald head. Yamaha is, of course, our main sponsor. It wouldn't be possible without them. If you are looking for a new Tenere, you're probably looking at that new Rally Raid version that they're going to be coming out with soon. But I'm still liking my old Tenere. Can't wait for the new one. Go to your Yamaha dealer and go Tenere like I did. Sorry for the Tenere plug while we're talking Cove.
Oh, all good. Gideon's got a Tenere in the garage too, so that was what he was riding mostly.
So when you said KTM, I almost just dropped straight into my Yamaha read right then because that's what I do on this show. So Joe Jackson is here. He's from Quad Lock. He did the Nora's Baja, which is the Mexican 1000, and it was his kind of one of his very first races, but it was a pretty good effort. I like I said, I was a little worried at the beginning, and every day I got more and more confident. On day 3, after the marathon bivouac, that's where we had our first really good interaction.
Yeah.
So there was some confusing navigation through a little village called El Arco, and we had to, our top three riders had a problem with their, because we were in a remote location, the Stella unit, which is sort of like our tracker, it didn't reprogram itself like it normally does. Usually basically in the night, especially when there's cell service, it automatically shuts off and then updates and loads the next day's program, or the program's actually in it. It's told through a cell service, or, to switch to the next day's program. Well, while I was letting the first rider off the line, I was told that didn't happen. And so our top three riders took off. And remember, I was kind of in a panic.
Oh yeah. You're like literally running.
Touching everybody's. I had to go push a couple buttons on your Stella and do a couple sequences to get it loaded up. So top three guys took off, and then I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure I can beat them to the gas where the gas stop was, but maybe not this other place. We had kind of a cutoff time where everybody needed to be by this thing. I didn't think I was going to be able to make it, but when I got there, I did drive kind of fast there. I was on mostly the same road you guys were on, except for about 30 or 40 kilometers. So it was a pretty fast road, but I got to where it was, and I tried to get one of our sweep drivers to fix it for the top riders, because we had a procedure to do it. Well, one of them got through. I think Colton went. Did Colton go too fast? No, because the Russian Eli, I think they stopped him. I don't know. So, anyways, we're trying to fix their GPSs, their units, and they kind of know that they're not working, but they don't know that they're not working. It's funny, when you're in a race, you get so kind of wired. And that's not their main, their main concern. They're trying to race, and you don't really need the Stella. It's not. You could do the rally without it, but it sure does help when everything's working properly, because it's guiding you to the center waypoints and stuff like this. But Jesse G, I'm going to get to your question here in a second, and our chat is already answering it for you, so I'll get you soon. But so when you came in there, we kind of had cars that were sort of parked a ways off the course. At that point, we kind of moved off the course, and you were attracted like a fly to our stuff over there. And I remember kind of like, you all good? And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, kind of regroup, maybe it was stressful in the morning or something. And I remember pointing, I go, and here's the cap heading. And I pointed at it because I knew that was probably, I don't know if you can explain to people what it's like when you're off course and then the whole world turns 90 or 180 degrees.
Yeah. So it's funny. So the reason I was in such a panic was I didn't realize I was off course. So we started out day 3, right? We leave the bivouac, or we leave the ranch we were staying at, and it starts out really fast, sandy roads. Like that's the one thing I love and I feel really comfortable in. And I actually managed to pass, I think, almost every other amateur leading into, like, getting into that area. I think there might have been 1 or 2 guys ahead of me. Like Steve Montana's was always been quick the whole week. So I started in the morning. We're like 55 Ks in or something. We get to that first speed zone. It's through that village. There's a little house on the left. A kid and his dad are outside waving. And it's like, oh, yep, here, go past this building, turn right. I think it was like a left or something. And I misread I looked at the symbols and I turned right before the fence line instead of after it. And then the next 2 or 3 notes were kind of quick distance wise.
Yes. Yeah, you had to go across that ditch to that village. Yeah.
But the wrong turn I made had 2 following turns that were really close to being the same as what the road book was asking me to do. And I got so confused because I just ended up in some guy's backyard.
Yeah. And call that magic road book where everything works, even though you're not on the right track.
Yeah. And so, but I did the thing. I was like, all right, like, I'm supposed to, Chucky said, if you get lost, like go back to the last point you knew where you were and start over. Um, and so I did that 3 times, and I did the same exact thing 3 times. I was like, okay, clearly this is wrong. And I think one of the support vehicles for one of the amateurs that wasn't using Baja Bound was there and was kind of like, maybe go a little further, because he'd seen me turn around 3 times. And I was like, okay. And like, if anyone watching has been to Baja or ridden there, locals either tell you exactly where to go or the complete wrong way. So you don't really know if that's right. But I went and I saw you guys over there, and you were waving. You could tell I was lost as shit. And you were waving your arms at me, and you pulled me over and you're like, hey, regroup, go to that intersection over there and follow the compass heading in your notes on this tulip. And so I went to that intersection and I looked at my tulip.
You did exactly what the note told you to do.
Yeah. And the note said, turn right at this cap heading. And I didn't read the cap heading. I said, all right, turn right. Jimmy pointed it out. He must be having some mercy. So I turned right, and I was like, well, shit, I was ahead by 5 minutes. I lost 15 minutes getting lost. I got to make up all this time. So I just hammer it, and I go like 30 Ks in the wrong direction before I run into a sweet vehicle.
The other thing is that the next note on if you would have done the right thing was like 14 kilometers away.
Yeah.
It was a long note, and those are the worst ones to mess up on. And so when you turn down that way, I was just like, we've lost him.
Yeah, he's gone.
You're going back to the ranch that we came from. And I was kind of trying to, at that point, I'm kind of scratching my head to kind of think, how are we going to do this?
Yeah. Well,
I'm pretty sure you would have, I was thinking after 15 kilometers, you would have turned around, but luckily our other sweep Jeep was bringing out the injured rider from the day before.
Yeah.
And so they were going really slow. And so I got on the radio and said, hey, when you see a bike hauling ass at you, can you please stop him and send him back? Tell him to come and see me again.
Yep. Well, that again, I got super lucky. I went to find that left turn at about 14 Ks. Didn't see it. So I circled there 2 or 3 times, found it was like, oh, it's not supposed to be a minus visibility, but maybe this doesn't count. I don't know. So I followed that, and I went perpendicular for probably 7 or 8 kilometers. And I was like, there's no way this is right. So I turned right back around.
And that's the old roads. That's super crap.
Yeah. So
you were on a really nice road and you got a road on
Oh, terrible. And I was like, there's no way there'd be notes about this. And right as I rejoined that main road is when I ran into the sweep. And I was like, he flashed his lights at me. I was like, I'm going the wrong way, huh? And he was like, dude, you need to go haul ass back the same way you came. Talk to Jimmy. You're way off course. And
that was a section where we were crossing car course.
Yeah.
And that's why we were really concerned about the time. And then that's why I had to send you down, because there was that 2-hour window.
Oh yeah. Totally understand why that happened.
Yeah. And I mean, this is just a normal thing that happens on your first rally. Like every day you learn something that sort of saves your life, or, just makes everything easier. Sometimes you have to give yourself a rally check. And I mean, after that time, I don't think I really talked to you too much. I mean, like I hardly ever saw you, because at that point you seemed like you're always in the mix. You were up with all the guys. Even the one day where everybody except for 2 riders kind of got lost out in that silt bed stuff. Like when I saw where you guys went, it was like, that's a minor thing. It wasn't as major as some of the other guys that rode out to the beach, out to the ocean, into the mud.
That was, yeah. I mean, it was great after that, because I thought back to what you said, and you were like, you didn't tell me to turn right. You told me to go to the cap heading. And I made just a couple changes after that conversation. And one, I was like, all right, I need to stop harping so hard on the odometer. I had mine set to hundredths, not tenths. Okay. And so I was like, well, is it 100 meters? Am I off by 200 meters? Is the turn really 100 meters away? And like, I was getting way overthinking the distances. And then I started focusing on cap heading and like obvious turns first. And I don't think I missed a turn aside from that one area where, like I said, everyone got lost for a little bit. Yeah. I missed one turn in 2 or 3 days until the very last stage.
Oh, that's when you rode into the forest.
Yeah, then I got really fucking lost again.
I think one of your pictures, I don't know if I threw it in this thing. I just grabbed a couple quick photos, but I remember there's a picture in your little. Oh no, maybe. Oh, I know what it is. I gotta play
Instagram.
This.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta play this. So everybody, this is gonna be kind of cool. And hey, Jesse G, we're gonna get to your question here in 1 second. Let me see how I did. I gotta push a button or something like this. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I can make this work.
Yeah, you can't park there. I love Mexico. I'm
Right there.
lost.
Yeah. If you go over this, it's actually the whole process of me on that in
Damn,
that
this
wash,
fucking
getting
thing.
lost, and then getting stuck up in the tree. But yeah,
Can't
no,
park there.
same
I
deal.
love Mexico.
Let me
That
pause this one.
Yeah. So yeah, last day, similar sort of situation. Got a little too confident. Was carrying a lot of speed. Oh, gee.
Well, not really a spot you want to
Yes.
be in.
Day 6, final push. You've been doing great. You haven't missed a turn in 3 days. Just follow the cap heading and don't get lost in the sand wash. It's all going to be totally fine. Trees. You dumbass.
And then now I'm completely lost. Well, not really a spot you want to be in.
Yeah, that was.
Day 6, final push.
One
You've
way
been
to
doing
get
great.
lost,
You haven't
that's
missed a
for
turn in
sure.
3 days. Just follow the cap heading and don't get lost in the
Okay,
sand wash. It's all going to be totally fine. Trees.
Yeah. So yeah, same deal. That was we had 2 special stages that day. The first stage was my favorite kind of roads. Super sandy, really fast, like wide open. That's the stuff I really like. And carried that confidence into stage 2, and it was not the same. And I think there was only 2. I don't even want to call them HPs because I wouldn't. There were still traces, and it wasn't exactly just like you're going across a dry lake bed or something. But yeah, Gilles and I on the Triumph were going back and forth. I got back in front of him when he hesitated, and I made the correct note there. And then I grabbed the wrong set of tracks through that wash and followed it. And it was like, got narrower and narrower. And all of a sudden I was surrounded by trees. And yeah. Yeah. Mike was in there at one point. So that's how I knew I was lost for a long time is Mike found me.
Our sweep rider
Oh,
for the
I-
entire event.
Before him, your buddy Mike
Mikhail.
Mikhail, yeah.
Mike McHale, yeah.
Mike caught me, and I was like, "Damn, I know I started at least 20 minutes ahead of him, like because we had a time, we had a neutralization zone in between those stages, and he kind of went the same way and managed to shoot through. And I guess it was on a narrower bike and was able to kind of bust his way out of those little
Well,
trees.
He rides in Hawaii, and that's what they do all day long.
Yeah.
in first and second gear. Like he was kind of came in the first day. He goes, "I think it's the first time I've ever used fifth gear on the bike." And I go, "Mike, it has 6." And he goes, "Oh."
Oh man, yeah.
That was a-
So I got so lost in there. Yeah, and the only reason Mike the sweep found me is because he had picked up another rider. He'd picked up Rob.
Yeah.
And they both accidentally went that wrong way and ran into me.
Yeah, I think, when it says traces, and this is the same thing with that navigation error that everybody made the day before or 2 days before, it was the first rider, which was in that case was Colton. Over there, I know it was Colton because I watched the tracker. He was the only one that went. He kind of went in there and he kind of made a track the wrong way. He didn't go the cap heading. He kind of went where he saw the tracks, and so it's one of those things where if everybody starts going that way, then the note and it says follow traces, you're kind of more inclined to do that,
Right.
and so that's where. It kind of depends on the level of the guys that are doing the, we call it opening the course. So
For sure.
I got a question here from a Jesse, Jesseg 8920 says, "I have no room for another bike right now. What's your opinion of the Aprilia Touareg Rally?" And he says Touareg Rally 660. I have only ridden one of those briefly. I don't know. Have you ridden one of those?
I have. This is an easy shameless plug. My fiance works for Piaggio Group, so I'm gonna
Okay.
preface this
Good
with
deal.
biased.
Let's be clear about we don't have biases around here.
Yeah. So I have borrowed that bike a few times to shoot some stuff for Quad Lock and ridden it off road a little bit. I've ridden the base bike off road probably 400-ish miles or so on like fast Forest Service roads, some 2-track stuff. It's a really great motorcycle. I think in that segment, it kind of stands out big time from a lot of the other bikes. Just the way it's set up from the factory, the suspension is really good. I mean, I'm a $160 and I have no problems with a lot of factory suspension, but I know some other test riders and journalists that are pushing 200 pounds that were really not having any problems with it. I think it's a great bike for the money. It's got a ton of features that you're really not going to find on a lot of other stuff in the class that won't eat its own cams. Like a certain orange Austrian bike that I used to own. And yeah, they're really rad. I would say
that was a really small problem in the grand scheme of how many.
Oh God, yeah,
there were.
Yeah.
Did yours eat its cams?
No, thankfully. So I sold mine 6,000 miles
before I had a chance to never do it.
Yeah, well, because in the few thousand miles that I had it, blown rear shock, both ABS pressure switches failed, the immobilizer failed twice. God, what else? Like every electrical problem. And even when you fix them yourself, the bike won't return to functioning unless you take it to a dealer and they reset the ECU for you with the dealer tool. Wow. So that bike was very frustrating to own. It was amazing when it worked, but every time I buy a KTM product, I say I'll never buy another KTM product. And then you go ride one on a press launch or something, and you're like, damn, this is really good. Maybe I'll pick one of these up after all. And they just keep getting you back. But yeah, I would say that Touareg is an amazing bike. If you're looking at the Touareg Rally and you're considering something a little more off-road biased, definitely look at those Kova 800s. They are, it's basically, they took everything that could use improvement on that 790. It's a different chassis, but it's the same motor, different cams. It's got the big 49 mil forks. I think they have they have the Yuan forks and shocks, but they're basically clones of the Showa stuff. And it's just a really hardcore off-road twin cylinder bike if that's what you're into. But yeah, I got nothing but good things to say about that Aprilia. It's great.
And the Aprilia, like on creature comforts, is kind of what I would say. Like, is it? Because I rode it only off-road, and it was just really quickly, kind of like one of our classes, and I kind of rode it, and I go, well, it's not, it wasn't like, so the funny thing is, when I hopped on a Tenere, it felt like a dirt bike as far as the ergonomics, the layout.
Yeah.
It wasn't, but it just had it had a more dirt bike feel. Like the distance from the handlebars to the foot pegs was kind of normal, where a lot of adventure bikes, they stretch that distance out. And, it's like BMW kind of invented the class, and that's the way they were. So even when KTM had the 950, it was still like, oh, we can get away with a little, putting some extra gas tanks up here. Where I hopped in that Touareg, and that's kind of what I remember. It was like, this is a lot like the Yamaha. The rider compartment is actually, pretty nice. And it felt like I always say, it felt like they had dirt bike riders in the development process, and they listened to them. BMW has had dirt bike riders in the development process, and then they when they're not looking, they just go, oh, we're not going to listen to anything they say. So, interesting. So anyways, that's what we say now. Now the chat's saying they can't hear me. That's probably why we're getting so many millions of views, is because you can't hear me. You can only hear Joe Jackson here. He's from Quad Lock. He did the Norris Baja. He is also a motorcycle journalist and has been around this a little bit. We're kind of hearing his Norris stories if you're just kind of tuning in. So Joe, thanks for joining us. Hopefully the sound comes back alive. I don't know. I've made a couple adjustments on my side, but that doesn't necessarily mean things have helped. Another thing that we do on this show, I don't know if you're familiar with it, probably not, because nobody ever watches this, is we do a segment called Roof Store Endo.
Okay.
And in this segment, the way this works is our viewers send us a picture of their bike, and they tell us a little bit about their bike. And then we get to decide, well, you don't have to, but I think you should. We tell them whether their bike roosts or endos. Roost would be good, Endo would be bad.
Yeah.
Selectively. Anyways, this segment is brought to you by Taco Moto. That's tacomoto.co. Taco Mike likes that we will either make fun of your bike or just make fun of your bike, no matter how good it is. And then we get to choose the one that brings us the most enjoyment, and they get a $100 gift certificate from Taco Moto.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to go ahead and jump right into that segment because I know somebody you're familiar with, and he's in the chat or was in the chat, is here probably to defend his dignity, but we'll get right to it. So I got to get to my screen here that has the information. Okay. Matt Marlute. Let me go to my thing here. This is Matt Marlute's. And we only have 2 tonight. So just think, you have a 50% chance of winning if you would, and it would only be, with 3, and sometimes we only get 1 submission, they automatically win. But anyways, this is Matt's 2023 Gas 300 EC. And so the rules for this is that you send us a picture of your bike. Make sure you tell me your make and model, because I hate to have to guess on that stuff. And then tell us a little bit about your bike. So he says Pro Taper bars, Cycra handguards, Scott steering stabilizer, IMS tank, gut seat, NASCAR rims. By the way, Jimmy uses and endorses the Scott's stabilizer for sure. Nackstar rims. I'm not familiar.
Yeah.
But I think I saw that front rim on Kobe Raha's bike when he went 100 feet in the air the other day. Or at least he had the white stripe on it. So Brembo front caliper setup. So that's an upgrade from the stock Brake Tech brakes. TM chain sliders, D-Eddy chain, Dirt Trick sprockets. We do DDC down here. Bulletproof radiator braces. Good. Bulletproof is also a proud supporter of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. AHM set up the suspension, just like Colton's.
Me too, actually.
Okay, there we go. So you had the suspension worked on your Cove.
Yeah, just the rear shock. Gideon had full shock and forks, but we can get into that in a little bit.
Okay. FMF silencer, and he's still deciding about putting a head tune and deleting the oil injection, which if you want to know a lot about that stuff, I don't know if we deleted the oil injection on our long-term test bike, but we did do a head and tune, and there's a whole bunch of information there. So he says, thanks for the discount code for the Achirby stand. It works awesome. Well, thanks, Matt. I'm glad that you got that, because that was a pretty cool code. So anyways, that's Matt's bike. Since you don't know how we play this game, I'm gonna let you decide whether it roosts or endos. What do you think?
Oh man. So I am gonna say this is a roost for me, but it's like a 51 percentile. You were this close to
good.
endoing.
I want to hear why.
And I want to explain why. I am not historically a dirt bike guy. I'm new to dirt bikes. So I, until very recently, in the last like 2 years or so, have always kind of looked at this from a lens of either adventure bikes or like road racing style ride, like sport bikes, like Supermoto. If this guy's name is Matt, right?
Matt, yeah.
So Matt, if you are sponsored by IMS, FMF, and all these companies you have stickers for on your bike, I take it all back. But I do not understand, and this seems to be such a huge thing in specifically dirt bikes, whether it's MX guys or enduro guys. I do not understand putting stickers for brands that are not paying you to put stickers on your bike. I get if it's a tribute to like a factory livery or something, but I personally I hate putting the logos on the bikes unless there's a very good reason for it. Not my thing.
Okay, so hold on a second. I'm gonna put your photos up. Your look is pretty. Your look is pretty clean.
It is.
Yeah.
And I shamelessly the bike livery and my rally jacket and all this stuff is a tribute to an amazing brand that I used to work for. That I got their graces for putting on the bike, and that's Brother Moto in Atlanta. But yeah, in general, I don't get the whole sticker of the bike. Not my thing. But I'm a professional hater. So
as a fashionista, I'm just gonna you're well. So he gave us the list of all the stuff he did. So so Matt, I'm going to tell you. I think that your bike probably, I think it roosts for this reason. The one thing I look at, like, I get really particular about it, and I usually pick on people if they don't use all the same sponsors. Like, it needs if it's a Jimmy bike, it has Fast Company flex handlebars, Scott steering stabilizer. You know, you're running Nitro Mooses, the whole, you know, you got a little thing. But when he said Brembo front caliper setup, I'm like going, okay, this guy, he's not just modifying and just buying every part in the book. I got a little discouraged at the end when he was talking about the head tune and deleting the oil injection, because like for some people that's like going off the cliff. You're just going overboard. But all the stuff he's using are good. It's good quality. I don't know about the Nagstar rims, but like all the stuff, it's like, hey, he's building a pretty nice bike. And he's getting it set up. And so I tend to say that this bike roosts kind of he did something that wasn't necessarily flashy, but it was effective. And I didn't know about the BrakeTech brakes that much until Mount St. Helens, Glen Helen, coming down it. And every lap I would forget I was on our gas, and I'd pull on the brakes where I usually pull on the brakes and just have to Hail Mary it into the turn going about 10 miles an hour too fast. And I mean, I can pull on a brake. I mean, I've ridden some junky bikes, and this is why I don't ride vintage bikes, is because the vintage bikes, they're not slow. They generally handle different, but not horrible. They just don't slow down.
Yeah.
They will kill you. So anyways, Matt, you're going to get a roost from both of us. I'm going to go 65% roost. If you would have had more of my sponsors that you can see on the screen behind me.
Yeah, no quad lock mount either.
I would have done that. Hey, I'm going to go live on the Instagrams right now, just for the next Rooster Endo, where they can't. The good thing is, so I'm live on my Dirt Bike Test Instagram right now, because we usually do the show before the show, but I forgot. I was too busy making the show work. But here's a segment we're doing called Rooster Endo, where you can't see, because all you can do is look at me, and you can't even hear the audio, or have Joe Jackson telling us that he is a hater of all the stickers we put on our motorcycles. So he's going to go silent. But if you have a question, you can put it in the chat down here, and we will answer your question live on this show. So our next bike is from some guy his name is Bob Stewart.
Oh, very familiar.
Okay. So very familiar. So Jimmy, and I told you the rules before we started doing this. It says, Jimmy, I am submitting my bike for consideration on Roost or Endo. It is a 2018 KTM 500 EXCF. So he satisfied the needs of the contest. He submitted a picture of his bike, which we'll get to later, and he told us what it was. 2018 KTM 500 EXF that I ride both in the desert and also race at the Nora in the 60 plus class. It is mostly stock with the following additions: large desert tank, big desert pegs, and a rally tower with a Tower 1 tablet. I run Michelin bibs and Kenda tires. Had a fresh top end rebuild with now about 2,000 miles on it since the rebuild. It also currently has more zip ties on it than an Ice Agent because of a couple decent crashes. Pick for consideration. Okay, so I'm going to take the Instagrammers here, and I'm going to focus you at the screen. See that screen up there? If you were watching us live right now on the YouTubes or the Facebooks, you could see Rob Bob's bike right there at Rooster Endo. Well, you can't really see his bike because he didn't do a very good job with his picture. And if you're familiar with how we do things here, I get really particular as a former motorcycle media person, and I had to, oversee the layout of a magazine every month. Where the hell would you see this picture in a magazine, Rob Bob? I mean, and that's the whole picture. I'm gonna go ahead and try to show you that there's not much. We can see you have a seat, concept seat. We which you didn't talk about. C
Oh, there's
Concepts,
half a Rally Navigator sticker on that back fender.
yeah, and there's a quarter of a Baja Bound Moto sticker, which is you got your Baja Bound insurance. You see he's number 67. There's a sticker. Maybe he's really proud of just this one sticker because it does kind of stand out. I don't know what that is, but there's not much of a bike here. I can see your Kenda tire, and half of a Rally Navigator sticker looked like it's blown out, and I didn't even know who's standing around in the back in that nice Climb Gear. By the way, Climb Gear proudly supporting Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. If you need a discount code for Climb Gear, you can sometimes reach out and I can sometimes give them to you. Unlike that, it's not as hefty as that Achirby's discount code I gave out the last week, but you may have missed out on that one. So, Rob Bob, what the hell are we looking at? You talk about these zip ties. I see no evidence of zip ties. There's no way. I don't even know if I could tell what bike this was. Maybe if I looked really close at the engine there, I could probably identify it as a KTM 500. Maybe. It's hard to tell. But he does have the big pegs on. I'm curious.
I'm curious to see what you say because I have a take for it.
Full endo. 100%. 100%. There's no questions asked. Endo. What says you?
All right, so I'm gonna say based on his photo submission skills, endo, but I want to lean towards Roost, and only because that bike has kind of a cool history. So that is one of Mason Klein's old practice bikes. Mason Klein.
Oh, not familiar.
Oh yeah. So that's his old practice bike, and what I appreciate.
It had it on the rally tower. It had that kid's name engraved in it, and that's the part that was just completely exploded. And I said, I think there's a correlation.
Yeah, there might be, but I appreciate that Rob Bob bought a practice bike from someone who's raced Dakar and didn't park it in his living room and never ride it or just talk about how he's going to do a rally someday. He bought a practice bike from a pro racer and used it to race in Nora. So I give him Roost points for that.
Roost?
But the submission is terrible. Still an endo.
I'm still going that. That was the most half-assed. That could quite possibly the most half-assed. The only thing that's been worse is our buddy George, who used to co-host in the show. He had a three-wheeler, and he got most of it in the photo, but it was a three-wheeler. And so he's actually in the chat right now. And he's probably trying to put his sticker on something. Okay. And Bob's in the chat right now. He says, my KTM has a lot of miles on it with zero problems. Well, you and Joe have a different opinion of KTMs. In fact, my KTM opinion is very much different than Joe's as well. I have a large number of KTMs, and I still feel that they are definitely some of the most well-built, most durable bikes out there. And it comes with, I'm riding bikes that have 500 and 600 hours on them, and I have no problem taking them. Well, you saw Mike McHale's bike.
Yeah.
That was my father-in-law's bike. Rest in peace, Ned. He willed it to me. Actually, before he died, he said, take this damn thing because you're the only one that'll know what to do with it. He was one of those guys that never washed his motorcycle.
That's
it had a
same guy.
A lot of hours on it, and so that bike was used as a rental bike in our schools for a while. And I actually had a whole nother bike that I prepped for Mike to buy. And then he's like, "Oh, he has a place of property in Nevada," and I'm like, "Well, you don't want one of these stupid California bikes." So I'm like, "Go get a." All right, so I found Ned's bike was registered in Nevada. I'm like, hey, let's get you Ned's bike. So it worked out pretty good. So, but yeah, that bike, it seemed like I don't know what his maintenance included: one air filter, 2 air filters, and 1 oil change.
Yeah, I did 1 air filter swap and 1 oil change, and I didn't even bother doing the screen. The oil looked great when I drained it at the end of day 3.
Yeah, welcome to Cove.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys a few years ago. I can't remember if it might have been Nora. I think it was the Baja 1000, but there was 2 or 3 guys that bought a brand new Kobe 450 Rally and did the whole 1,000 miles on the break-in oil and didn't change it until after the race. And they were like, it didn't look bad. Like a little bit of glitter like you'd expect on a first service.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. So if you are watching us right now on Instagram, I'm live on our janky little horrible live show, Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, and you can ask questions down here, but I'm going to hang up on you because you have a short attention span, and I don't have time to wave at all you people in the live. So check us out on the YouTubes or the Facebooks, and we will see you maybe next week. So there, I just ended the whole YouTube live stream because everybody says you got to spread yourself out on the social medias.
Oh yeah. Well, I saw a question earlier. Someone had said they, I guess, met me at AIM and we talked about quad lock, but they're asking about
Steve Webb
foam grips for rally. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Obviously you've got a ton of seat time on different setup bikes. I've tried foam grips once and I didn't like them at all.
Oh, great. We're going to have a good talk about this.
Yeah.
So, I got a factory BMW ride, and I'd done 1.5 Dakars before I did that, and I'm pretty sure that my KTMs did not have those grips on it because I would have cut them off. But So when I got my factory BMW, I showed up in Dubai. It was the very first time I ever saw my quote factory bike. That we were testing it, so working on some stuff with it. But it had the foam grips on it. I'm like, I told my mechanic, take those things off. And my mechanic was he was a guy named Freddie. He was so meticulous, and so you could just see that. Like, and I'm just this punk kid, young guy. Then he's like, what? And they don't even have other grips, so. They said, we'll get some for you. Can you ride with this today? And I rode with them. And I'm thinking to myself, well, it's a big, heavy bike, and maybe it's and so I kind of like left them on, rode with them that day. The next day they had, my half waffles, whatever the heck I wanted on it. And I rode it, and my hands were just like destroyed, just hurt, very sore. And my wrists weren't even bad back then. I was like, can I try those foam? And we were switching bikes between a couple of the different riders. And every time I hopped on the bike with the foam grips, I realized like, I can't believe it. So it's funny because especially American guy that goes over and rides a rally bike, we all do the same thing. We say, take those stupid things off. And then shortly after that, you're right back on them. I love the foam grips on my Adventure. They're on my Tenere. They're on my long distance dual sport bikes. They're on the bike I had in the back of the truck that I never got to pull out and ride during NORA, which kind of pissed me off. They're on that bike. they're on that bike too. For long distance, long days, I absolutely love the foam grips, and so we're usually running the Pro Grip ones, which they're kind of hard to get sometimes, but. And they're ridiculously hard to mount properly. They get stuck and you tear them and all this stuff like this. But if you can get them on and get them set, I don't know anybody that would not like them. So, anyways, yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm curious because I know they have such a cult following. Like Quad Lock, we sponsored Chucky Sanders, who won the Dakar, not this most recent one, but the year prior. And we got one of his KTM factory practice bikes as an ornament in the office for like 6 months. So the last time I was in Australia, I got to kind of pour over that bike and look at it and geek out, and saw the foam grips. And I was like, man, like these are everywhere in rally. And I tried them a couple of years ago. And I didn't like the lack of like feel or feedback on the bars. And it just was weird.
Yeah. So they don't have the kind of like the bite a rubber grip does. And I have really small hands and fingers. And so I'm really concerned with diameters. Like, some people have I cannot ride with large diameter grip, but the foam grips, the diameter isn't that big. So if I ride with a regular grip, it really does beat me up and stuff. But I still would not use it if I was going to do like enduro, hard enduro, anything, especially if it was going to get wet.
Yeah,
kind of need some of that kind of grip. They actually grip pretty good when it is wet, but if you're going to get muddy and slippery and stuff like that, Not really good. So Steve wants to take a little vibration out of the YZ250 two-stroke. I don't know if they actually they reduce some of the vibration. They would just have to, just based on the way that they are. But I don't notice a difference between vibration and not vibration. But then again, I run on most of my bikes. I have a BRP top clamp, and most of my bikes I run the Fast Company Flex handlebars, which do a little bit each in their own way for the vibration. Mostly the clamp. As much as I like the Fast Company bars and stuff like that, I don't think they take a certain directional vibration out, but I don't think they take the vibes that you really kind of that shakes stuff out. But yeah, if you're kind of just riding around the desert, and Steve, I don't know how fast you're going these days and stuff like that. If you're kind of cruising around where that YZ250 two-stroke vibrates, they could work. It would be it's a cheap way to to try to fix something like that.
And hey, the Happy Medium Pro Grip, I used to run. They have a Pro Grip Rally Grip, and it's a rubber. I guess like an alternative to using the foam. It is a slightly thicker rubber grip that they sell that almost kind of looks like a more vintage pattern. It's like single piece rubber. It's no waffle, but it has like grooves cut in it a little bit. If you sort by most popular on pretty much every retailer, I think it's at the top, but it's the Pro Grip, and I want to say it's called the Rally Grip, but those are really good for killing vibration. And I think it's for people who don't like the foamies that still want a little bit of cushion.
Right. Yeah. There's grips that kind of have. I've seen ones that are like they're rubber, but they have a foam wrap around them. I've seen this as a thing, and a couple of different things. Bob's getting back to us. We haven't rendered judgment on Rooster Ender Winter just yet. By the way.
Oh yeah.
I didn't give you a complete list of parts for my KTM, but it works. So Bob is winding up what we affectionately call the Excusatron. It's a small device that you just keep winding up tighter and tighter, right until the point where it explodes. But I saw your bike work. Your bike worked because now, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you have a bike or two that didn't make it to the finish line in Nora in the years back? Tug Flip at Trug Flip says the Mako 360 clamps fix the vibes. Yes. That is another option for fixing the vibes. I have tested those, and I'm not a super big fan of what they do, but I definitely know that a lot of people for vibration and stuff, they work really good, especially if you can get away with the softer elastomers on that. And ODI Rogues are the best grips.
I like an ODI grip. I've run them on a few bikes.
I like the clamp on.
Yeah, those are
actually,
nice.
I've been running like the Emig grip, which is an ODI, and have had pretty good success with them. Kind of the half waffle because the rubber's grippy enough, and it's crazy. Grips are just like two-stroke oil, and the guy that sets up your suspension there. It's a little bit particular. Risk Racing cheap foam grip covers for wet and muddy races. Man, it's funny. When you said Risk Racing, I remember they would have these ads with all these cool things that it's lots of cool stuff that just never caught on.
Yeah.
And they some of it's pretty effective stuff. So, Bob says, I'm here and the pick sucks. Oh, it's not like we wouldn't talk about you right in front of you, Bob. So just
yeah, that's true.
Don't worry about it. The picks really does suck. I'm glad that we don't have to have somebody else tell us this. So we got more new messages. Here we go. Trug Flip says, I run the Makos on my Husky FX350. I run stock clamps on my Gas EX300. Okay, completely different bikes. And stock clamps on my YZ2. Oh, Trug, do you have a problem with too many motorcycles? Can we talk to you about some counseling you might?
And let me know if you find a good therapist, because I need the same one.
Well, my wife has a problem because she has like 68 motorcycles. Most of them she doesn't even know about. Yeah, she was kind of surprised when we got matching his and hers Husabergs not too long ago. It was good times. And the worst part is she had to use her Husaberg that had a failing clutch slave unit to tow his Husaberg that the ignition went out back out of the desert. And luckily my neighbor, he said he almost, my buddy, he almost took a picture of us coming in because that would be, that'd be our Christmas card.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyways, let's see. It'll only last one race. I think he's talking about the risk racing stuff. Yeah, I don't know. So what's the deal with putting the foam over the grips for like a mud race or a wet race? I live in the desert, so
Yeah,
I've done mud races before, but it was always don't crash. That was the solution to not having problems.
I wonder if it's like the same idea as just like a tear off for your grips. Like hopefully you don't need it, but if you drop a bar in the mud or something, I'm not sure. I'm not super familiar with them.
Huh. Yeah. That would be so like tear offs for the grips. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's I've seen the things that they make for like mechanics to cover the grips. It's like a Velcro thing that they put over the grip. So when you're getting your hands oily and stuff, doing your air filter, and you push your bike around, that works. But no, I'd have to. I wish if I had a producer on this show, I would
maybe
say,
looking stuff up on the side. Yeah,
and then they could fly it over into the show and the screen. But I scare those guys away. They're usually, young kids that come in here and think that they're just going to ride dirt bikes all day, like all these free dirt bikes that come in and out of this place. And then they realize that there's some work around here and we don't get very far. So, by the way, everybody's wondering, what is the tequila tonight? I'm sure. Unfortunately, our good friend, Big Tickets, Mark Daniels, passed away a few weeks ago. I found out about it on my way back from Nora. And Mark was always telling us what tequila he was going to have. That's the fifth tea in Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. I'm going to have tonight some Ragosa. This is a tequila here. I have the emergency camera, which is really the one to show the tequila. This was a favorite. My buddy George, like I said, who he used to ride motorcycles. He used to come in and co-host on the show. His wife actually brought me a bottle of this back from Cabo. Cabo's not known for tequila, but it's a Mexican one you can't get here. So anyways, thanks, Carrie. Cheers to Mark. I'm sure he's tipping one back with us up there in the big podcast studio up in the sky.
Indeed. Speaking of producing, I was able to confirm those are the grips I was referring to are the Pro Grip 714 Rally Grip, and they're a thicker dimpled rubber grip.
The one that you were talking about.
Yeah. I haven't used them in years, but when I first was riding like FC6s and like I had a very brief inline 4 days where then like those early 2000s fuel injected bikes, just like you get that wrong resonant frequency on the interstate, your hands go numb. And those are the only grips I found that really took it out on those 4-cylinder bikes. And everyone's like, those are dirt grips, right? And I was like, my hands don't care.
They work. Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm like I said, on any of the endurance stuff, long distance stuff, I'm a big fan. Yeah. Cheers, Carrie. Thank you very much. Like it was hard to find. Actually, I got this bottle on the closeout rack because they've changed their bottles and stuff. And the guy was really surprised that I went for that because he said, how'd you find that? And it was kind of in a corner. And he goes, it's actually pretty good. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why I sought it out. So anyways, hey, did you get your Johnny Campbell beer?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. Gideon and I both got a 4-pack, I think.
Did you get them signed?
No, I didn't even think to do that.
I got mine signed, and now we've lost the signed cans.
Did you drink the signed can? Is that what happened?
Well, yeah, it was because I didn't want, it was, yeah, I drank it and then I had him sign it. It was at the riders meeting, the car riders meeting we went to. And then he was supposed to deliver it back here, and he says it's here, and I haven't been able to find it. So he might be lying to me. And Barkeep. Oh, it's Barkeep, not Bark Eep.
That makes sense.
Pro Grip was my first grip on my first bike, KLR 650. worked great. Hey, speaking of KLR, so when you were talking about getting the wrong bike, just get a bike, get the wrong bike. The KLR 650 still to my days, when someone says I want to buy an adventure bike, I do not even hesitate. I should say, by the way, the show's brought to you by Yamaha. You should just get a Tenere. That's what I should say now. But I still say buy a KLR 650. I don't care what year it is, new, used, whatever. Go get one of those because it won't lose any value or very little because it's not that expensive. And it's a pretty good bike for what it is. And then you can decide whether you really like adventure bikes, whether you need more, whether you need less. It's like this middle of the road. And so the same thing I said about the Cove. When I rode the Cove, I said, this could be the next KLR 650. Because the one thing that those bikes have in common, besides being low horsepower and really slow and kind of they have big gas tanks.
Yeah.
Am I being mean to your Cove?
No, you're not being mean. I will say for some reason that lights in my office are dimming. But no, I think the biggest, what in the world is going on with my lights? Sorry.
No worries. Yeah. It's, as long as your internet connection doesn't go out, we'll be okay.
Yeah. I think
if it goes out, don't worry. I will read from a poem from Coffee Brewed with a Graveyard Mist from Jerry Bernardo, who just released another brand new book that I have to go on the Amazons and buy. And I'll read it in the special poetry reading voice.
This guy right here.
Just in case it needs to be done. So if the power really starts, are you in Mexico or something like that?
No, I forgot. I've got fancy. I got one of those COVID things where I got real into smart bulbs years ago, and normally I'm not in the office as late, but it changes the brightness based on it reflects the natural light. So it's like you don't have like a weird color difference when you come out of the. I do video editing a lot for work, so I need accurate color, and I like to have the correct light around me. So it basically will match whatever the sunlight outside is, so that I have consistent color temperature. Big nerdy thing. But yeah, and it decided, oh shit, it's 8:30, the sun's going down, time to slowly dim as we get later in the evening. And it all happened kind of quickly at the end.
That is super nerdy. That's like when somebody asks me about why I run some part on my motorcycle.
Yeah,
I go down rabbit hole. But I learned a lot. I mean, now is it based on the time, or is it sensing the light outside, or
it's more based on time. Right. I think there is a very fancy version you can do that does that, but for what I'm doing, I'm not doing crazy big dollar commercial stuff. So my monitor is calibrated for color, and that's about as good as it needs to get.
Yeah. I thought you were going to tell me you were in California and they were changing the rates.
Yeah.
Of electricity. Now you can afford to get a different color light temperature.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. It is an unlikable bike. It's a donkey, but it will withstand abuse. The KLR. That's good that you put the KLR at the end there, because I thought you were talking about Rob Bob's KTM 500 that we saw a picture of a part of. And the KLR 650 Gateway Drug. I bought it for $3,500, rode it for 4 years, and sold it for $3,500. How do I know this stuff?
Yeah, it is. I don't know if I want to call it is it the worst best bike ever? Would you say is more accurate than the best worst bike ever? I think it's the worst best bike ever.
Oh, best worst bike. No, worst best bike. I don't know. That confuses my brain, kind of like what you were talking about with those lights back there. But yeah, hey, we'll talk about anything here on Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. We'll answer 9 out of 10 of your motorcycle product related questions, brought to you by Yamaha. So the best bike is the. I tell you what, I went and rode my YZ250 FX the other day, and had a absolute blast. So that could be the best bike right now, because I had the most fun on it in the last 3 days. So got one. Taking my girlfriend up in the mountains in Colorado on the KLR fully loaded luggage. Truckers pissed that I was going so slow, fully pinned.
That sounds about right.
I was going to say maybe you should look at the weight load of the girlfriend, because I think a KLR should pass a truck. Not to judge or anything like that, but I'm just going to go to the lowest common denominator on this. Okay. Let's see what else. So we got to pick our winner for Roosterendo, because I'm sure Rob Bob is itching at the boots. You know, I always give extra credit for people that are in the chat that are there trying to defend their bike, and he has been there making a lot of defense for it, a lot more than our other guy Matt, unless he's under some strange alias name that I can't find out. That'd be Matt Marute and his Gas 300. I mean, just based on the photo, Matt wins. Based on all the modifications, Matt kind of wins. Based on anything else, I think Matt wins, but he's not in the chat. You know what I mean?
Man, I think Rob could do all the lobbying in the world, and I still would not give him the win. Just based on the picture.
Based on the photo?
Yeah, because we have more context than anyone else who's going to look at that photo, so it's not fair.
I feel like I have been such a hard ass on the photos. Like, people send us pictures of their bikes in their garage. Oh, actually, I'll show you in Roosterendo here. So this guy sent me a photo. This guy here. This is this group. This guy over here on the left.
He circled it.
He's the guy that sent the bike in, and he said his group of riders would beat me up if I didn't make his bike win.
That's incredible.
So yeah, you know, it was well thought. So he said, these guys, if they find me on the trail, that if his bike doesn't win, I'll have a problem. So, okay. So you're going with the gas.
I'm going with the gas. I hate the race stickers, but I get it.
Okay. Yeah, you didn't like those. I'm going with Rob Bob's bike. So right now it's currently at a tie, and this is where we're going to put it up to the chat. So you people in the chat are going to get to pick the winner of Roosterendo tonight. I will do my best to keep track of it. Let's see. Trug Flip says, I had a KX500 that I put a timber sled kit on. Big mistake. Oh, well, interesting. But that was like 12 years ago when we were still figuring out the timber sleds. Obviously, eventually went 450 for snow. I guess if it's an old timber sled kit, maybe they robbed a little bit more power, but I always thought that you could never have enough power on a snow bike, has been my experience. But 500 probably just doesn't have the power band to pull that. So I'm not really sure how we got into snow bikes all of a sudden, Trug Flip, but we will talk about anything. And Barkeep says, no, she's a 110-pound Filipino. Okay. Well, maybe you need to get a muffler and an ECU and some other stuff for your KLR, but
yeah, like a different bike.
This is the other thing I tell you about KLRs. Yeah. The minute you start modifying them, sell them. Just save yourself the hassle. It's like, it's the same guys that are putting big bore kits on CRF 300s and, you know, spending a lot of money on the suspension. It's like you're putting makeup on a pig.
So I actually have to disagree with you. I've ridden one of Aries big bore 300s. It's really good. Like I've ridden that bike stock. I rode the 250 stock. I rode the 250 Rally, the 300L, the 300L Rally. Those bikes the 300L was a little bit better. It at least had the legs to sit on the highway and it didn't feel like it was going to explode. But Airy, for those who don't, Jimmy's referencing.
Yeah, Airy Henning.
Yeah, Jimmy's referencing these 300 big bores. Airy Henning is kind of the guy when it comes to race development on these motors to give you the 5-second pitch. And again, to be clear, I'm very biased. Airy's a friend. I lived with him the first month I was in California while I was looking for places to stay. But those bikes are different planet. I would say genuinely, if you're not looking to go racing and you don't want, like, the Cove was perfect for us because it was set up for rally. That 300 blew my mind. So Airy's got a few, I think 3 or 4 production lap records for the 300s around the US from his amateur road racing days. He spent 10 years building those motors, and then Honda started throwing him in that CRF platform for the street bikes, and he realized he could change some things and make them work a little bit better in the dirt. And I've ridden 2 now of his demo bikes where he's testing out these parts before he sells them. It is not a rally bike. It is not a dirt bike, but as a dual sport in the context that you're going to ride it 100 miles on the highway and 100 miles in the desert, it is unbelievable.
And I'm gonna agree with you here. It's that in a percentage gain, that's the bikes he's building. I think Trevor tested one at Dirt Bike Test. I think he rode one, did something with it, because some of our biggest views videos are small dual sport bikes. He rode one in a National Hare and Hound, and they go do the Big Bear Run. They do all these goofy things with these things. I'm getting a WR125 real soon. Wait till you see what I do with that thing. I tried to make Trevor race it in Nora.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It would have been fine.
Oh, for sure. On the braking oil, it would have been fine.
Yeah. But the percentage gain you get on those bikes is incredible. But you start chasing, you start revealing like the weak links in them. The problem is you start making the motor faster, then the suspension sucks that much more because the suspension is not that capable. But I mean, do you really need more motor to do what you need to do on the bike? This is where we're getting it's more of a philosophical discussion as opposed to
right.
Yeah, that's a huge improvement. In fact, you can make them run. They're not as good as a modern bike, but you can get pretty damn close. And then all of a sudden you start running into durability issues, which, anybody that's building them properly would kind of hold it back a little bit before they got there. But I always just say, God, when you start going down that rabbit hole, it's time to think about a different bike. Your skill level is starting to exceed the performance parameters of the vehicle.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. I think I've had a couple long conversations with him specifically about like who that bike, because you look at it on paper, the cost associated with doing a big bore kit and suspension, just those two things, it's a shitload of money. It's like 50% of the cost of the bike at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And you could have a KTM 350.
Right. And I asked, I was like, so who's buying? Because he's doing well. Like he's selling a lot of the big bore kits. I've ridden the bike. It's great. And I'm like, who's buying these? And he goes, it's a really specific niche.
5-year-old.
Yeah. It's older guys that are usually sitting down that maybe either carry a little more weight and luggage or on their body. And they want a lightweight bike with easy reach to the ground that still has decent ground clearance and decent travel. And
that has some get up and go.
Yeah. And like to his credit, like we went out to Santa Clarita and rode those bikes, and we brought out 3 bikes that day. His latest CRF 300 test bike, he was testing one that was lowered internally 1 inch with the full KYB suspension on it. My Kobe 450 Rally with the stock rear shock still on it. And then my Stark Varg EX, the Enduro model. And it was me, him, and our buddy Pat McHugh, who was also at Revzilla. And we just kept swapping bikes all day, and like 3 wildly different motorcycles.
Oh yeah.
And it was so interesting to ride that 300. I'd ridden it in the desert once before, and I was like, yeah, like the Kove is, if you want to go fast, get on the other bike with a way longer wheelbase and better ergos. But that 300, we went up to one of the steeper climbs in the Kove, screaming at the top of first gear to get up it, just because you got to be so high in the RPMs to make power out of that motor. And he literally put it in second gear and crawled up at like 10 miles an hour, 200 or 300 RPM off idle. And he's like, I was like, you can't do that on a stock 300. Let's see a ref.
You're not going to do that on a KTM 350.
Yeah. And the Honda's not going to vibrate your hands off.
Crank,
yeah.
Heavy crank, heavy flywheel, chug. And then the fuel injection on those things is pretty good. I don't know about when they get modified how they respond because I haven't really ridden them too much.
Yeah.
But generally, now that bore kits used to just never work on carbureted bikes, big bores. They would go a little bit, but once you started going big, they just never seemed like they worked because it's a pump and the front part of the pump, which the carburetor, was never designed to work with that. And then, okay, now we're boring the carburetor. Now it's jetting as a nightmare and all stuff.
Right.
Fuel injection, it kind of sniffs out what it's doing and it figures this stuff out. And the bore kits have become so much more adaptable. But I wouldn't, I always just warn people because the people I know, and maybe they aren't the target audience for that thing, but they just go down modification rabbit hole. And the minute they've kind of almost built the bike that they wanted, they're going to run into something where now the frame flexes or the frame breaks or the wheels can't hold up. And when you're sitting there looking at a $22,000 CRF 300 and you could, at that point, but yeah, it's different. Yeah. Lowering, I got a whole thing on lowering motorcycles as well. My take on lowering bikes is like, well, you don't ride with the feet on the ground, so don't make that your primary concern when
right
riding. That shouldn't, don't affect the way the bike works when you're riding it to make it work better when on the few times that you're stopped. Okay, here we go. The Moto Creative, this guy says he votes for Rob Bob. We can help him take a better photo next time.
The Moto Creative is Gideon. So it looks like he is in the chat here.
Right. And then the Trug Flup and a couple, and Boss Luel 33 says, "Hey Joe, congrats on the race. Congrats on your engagement too." Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Barkeep says, "First bike KLR 650 to Husky 701. I know you hate." Yeah, I'm kind of the Husky KTM 690 Husky 701 hate club.
I had one. I'm in the same club. I hate it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the XR400, which I was the most XR400 love guy in the world, but it was like, this bike does nothing good, but I really like it. And so that Husky platform, it's got as far as a big 4-stroke single.
Oh, it's awesome.
Such a good motor. And then it's in this chassis that just says, what do you want me to do? I'm not going to do anything well. I'll just do.
Yeah.
I've ridden rally conversion kits on them and supermoto setups. And it was like, I don't know what this thing is for. It's kind of almost big like an adventure bike, but it's not small like a dirt bike. And I just got confused.
Yeah.
He has a TW200 to teach all my buddies.
Nice.
Okay, that's scary because that front tire, the big tires grab too much shit. YZ250FX to YZ250X2 racing as much enduro and cross country as much as I can, and KLR full blown life changer. Okay, so he's saying that he started with a KLR 650. I wonder if I told him to do that. Anyways, he's gone down the path, and now he's on a YZ250 and YZ250X. Blue Crew, this show brought to you by Yamaha. See, you can start on whatever you want, but you're going to end up on a Yamaha, and it's going to be the best bike ever. Just saying. Here's another comment. 300's lug, bro. That's why everyone loves them. Taco Moto tune on a TBI. Not much better than that. I'm about to get one on my TE. Friends got it flashed. Completely worth it. Okay. I got it. Is Honda making a U.S. hard enduro comeback? Now they're offering contingency money in the U.S. hard enduro series. I don't know. I doubt it, but I'm pretty sure that's a way they can put a whole bunch of money up and never have to pay it out. I don't, because Honda does not make 2-strokes. And I haven't really seen a whole lot of 4-strokes doing much in the hard enduro series. Maybe you could do well at an enduro cross on a 4-stroke. You could probably bump up a 250F and have a pretty good bike there. But let's see. Somebody says just shave your seat. Don't make lowering kits. And Bob says he's really got better pictures. Hey, don't hurt it. Right now you're leading the race. Don't trigger me. Let's see. And Blas, it's actually me, Lorenzo Basillo. Took photos of you at Willow Springs once.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. Now I know who that is.
buddies.
I didn't recognize the username. Yeah. Lorenzo's a really great guy. Awesome photographer.
Yeah. I the usernames kind of freak me out because I can't figure out who's who. And, then I say mean things to people that I know. Like I wouldn't do it in person. Okay, Honda's offering $200 for the first place pro.
Yeah.
And now we're getting Cooper Webb killing it hard enduro on a YZ250 FX actually. So now we're wondering whether or not the Trug Flip is an AI. An AI bot posting to the chat, which I don't mind because it adds to the conversation. And Bob says, me.
Bob's battling for it.
Yeah. That $100 from Takamoto. So Roosterendo, and somebody asked, how do I get my bike into Roosterendo? It's really simple. You send an email to Jimmy@DirtBikeTest. You must put Roosterendo in the subject line, or I will never find it when I do the search about 3 minutes before the show starts to put them up on the show. You tell us your make and model, so I don't have to think about it too much, and then tell us a little bit about your bike. You can list all the parts. Sometimes I get bored reading down those lists, and I just start saying blah, blah, blah. You can tell us a little story about your bike, whatever you want. And it's actually Cody Webb is what he was trying to say. But Cooper Webb, didn't he announce he's retiring from outdoor motocross after this year? So maybe he's going to get into the hard enduro scene. I don't know.
Seems like a backwards transition. Or I shouldn't say backwards. It seems like I don't know. Like it's easier to go from the dirt to the road race stuff than road race to dirt.
Yeah, Zach Osborne told me he wanted to ride rally once, and then he went to Beta, which doesn't have a rally bike. It's like the only brand that doesn't have a rally bike ish kind of thing. But I think the Heroes, the Hero rally bikes.
Oh yeah.
Allegedly, they got Beta motors in there.
Interesting.
They used to have their own version. They're hand building their own motors, which are based off of old Italian Husqvarna motors, the old twin cam 450 that they had, and I think they've switched over to the Beta, or Beta-ish motors.
Oh, interesting. Jimmy, I have a question for you. So I realized something racing Nora this year that and maybe this is common knowledge for other people. Rally, I think, is some of the most diverse kind of like off-road skill set, just because the amount of terrain. Like we were in deep sand washes. We did not a ton of whoops, but there were some like 5 to 10K whoop sections scattered in and around the course. There were some jumps, whether you knew they were coming or not. There was.
Oh yeah, that and that went. I didn't.
We can come back to that. I just
want to tell you, there's been one change at Nora that changed a lot of stuff, and that was a direct result of that change.
Yeah.
So
I understand that. But yeah, and then we get to these sections where it's like, man, like flat track would come in handy. Like I found myself going like, oh, I need to really go sit down and do some flat track training. I would love to go out and do some more. Like that's part of the reason I bought the Stark, because I don't really have any enduro experience. Like all of my off-road riding in the last 4 years is open desert. And so I love when we're riding that stuff, but I suck at everything else. And I think, if you could pick one of these other disciplines, whether it's motocross, like hard enduro, flat track, like where would you be spending your seat time if it's like a regular weekend rider? You get maybe 2 weekends a month to go out and ride if you're lucky.
So the way I ride is I will do one thing and then I'll get bored and I'll do the next one. So I was riding on, Saturday night I was riding a mini bike around a kid's mini bike track, and the next day I was out riding the YZ250X kind of high speed desert actually on it, which is not exactly what it's designed for, but we wanted to go kind of do this loop, and I'm like, that was the bike I wanted to grab because I wanted to test some ignition maps in it. And the next day I'm on my KTM 500 doing a rally style. I wanted to tie together a kind of a rally loop to build a road book for people to try. So I kind of just switched from thing to thing to thing, and it's like just off-road in general, and it's really kind of dependent on where you live. Just kind of off-road riding is the most diverse, and whether you're kind of focused on rally, you're gonna it seems like rally is just like higher speed off-road riding is what I would call it. When you start going in enduro, then you're on more single track trails and it gets technical, and it can just kind of go from there. Hell, back east, if you ride a dual sport ride back east, you might as well be signing up for an extreme enduro. Like
Yeah.
the back east enduros are easier than the dual sport rides, in my experience, for the most part. There's some that are, and I think they've kind of definitely separated between adventure bike rides, which guys will do on their dual sport bikes, as well as adventure bikes, versus some of the dual sport rides that are pretty gnarly. But yeah, I mean, the good thing about, the thing about rally that I like to convey is that because you have to do the navigation, you can ride stuff that may not be as interesting if you were just like kind of following a line, or, in a group ride. Like, just that little bit you're distracting your brain to pay attention to some of the navigation makes the riding just that much more enjoyable. Or the parts that maybe wouldn't be as enjoyable if you're just kind of droning along, you don't remember those because you're thinking about something else at that point. But yeah, once, and I'm not a road rider, and it's like, for me, once I get on the road, to me, it's like commuting.
Sure.
It's like I could just be sitting in my truck, driving. When I'm on the road, I'm going to the next place I can get off on the dirt. And that's where it's, so yeah, just, whatever kind of, I like exploring, so that's what I have these different levels. I use my adventure bikes to go explore places. And I don't really take my adventure bikes on the gnarly stuff like you see these guys do. I mean, I used to a little bit, but I just learned it's like, this isn't for that. So I'll use it to explore. And then if the area looks really good, I'll come back with the right kind of dirt bike. And then I'll go ride around there. So, Bob, see, he's playing to you. He says he let you pass him in the wash before the finish. How was that?
The last wash before the finish? Honestly, I mean, man, when I saw that towards the end there was another wash, it made me think of, I think it was end of marathon. We had to go through that like riverbed wash that was all rocks.
Oh, it was super deep sand into rock plate rocks.
Yeah.
See, I love that stuff.
I like the sand. I do not like the rocks. I really don't like the rocks. And I have to tell you a really funny story, actually.
Hey, there was some big holes in those rocks if you went the wrong way.
Oh my God, there sure were. And guess who went the wrong way? So that day, and I'm only telling the story because I think it's too late for you to go add penalties for us. But Gideon and
No, Bob still wants me to correct sometimes, and
that's true.
I still haven't. I don't know if I can. I don't know. I don't know if I'm still in Nora or not. I might have. I got my final paycheck, and it might have said, "Don't let the door hit you in the ass."
Well, so Gideon and I, because the special stage is over by this point. We have like a 60K transfer or something to get to the finish line, and it's a ceremonial finish. The trucks were also there, and you'd said something. Hey, just a heads up, there are going to be trucks in that wash also, and it's not neutralization zone for them, or it's not transfer for them. It's part of the course. I think that's what you said. Maybe I'm wrong. But
that was the day we pulled you off the course.
Okay, so different thing. But anyway, so this is the.
Oh no! That was okay. You're right. That was the day everybody kind of got lost. But coming into Laredo.
Yes,
for sure. Yeah, that the cars were going to be racing down that wash.
Yeah. So Gideon and I make it to that wash. That was the only day where physically I really hit a wall, and like I felt like by the end of the day I couldn't hold on to the handlebars. And we get in that wash, and we're trying to follow it. We're getting bounced all over the place because we're going too slow because we're tired, and we end up just way the hell in the wrong place. And this local kid comes up on a little 125 4-stroke like street bike, and he's like trying to talk to us. We don't speak Spanish, and he's like pointing and he's like gesturing like follow me. And I'm like, dude, like today was my best day so far. Like I'm not gonna get penalty. I was like, I don't know if I can get a penalty in this transfer because I think there's still a waypoint or two left that gets us to the finish. There's no way I'm following this kid. Like I don't want to add penalties. I rode a really good day today. But we were so smoked. Gideon was like, we were like, dude, fuck it. Let's just follow the kid. And he takes us exactly the way the road book had said to go. So we didn't miss a single waypoint. And we get spit out of the wash. And the finish line's like 200 meters down. And he just like gives us a handshake. And he's like, just like, I don't know, 15, 16, like stoked that he got to like help some racers figure their stuff out. And I gave him, I think I gave him a $500 peso bill. Yeah. And he was like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Dude," again, he's speaking Spanish. I was like, "You saved my life. Like,
Yeah.
this, take it, please." And I was just so thrilled that he managed to take, I guess he had seen a bunch of other people already come through as a spectator.
He'd probably seen when they were riding it and stuff like that. Yeah.
But oh my
Personal
God, it
tour
was
guide. Well, I don't know. Yeah,
so
see,
funny.
I don't know what kind of, let's see, you paid for outside assistance.
Well, I didn't pay until afterwards, so there was no promise of money. It was a tip for an unrelated service. But yeah, because I was like, in the spirit of the race.
In a transfer, it's pretty much wide open. You can, get stuff from locals and things like that. The biggest thing with at least the way I was setting up that race is I don't want people chasing, I don't want people to try to drive backwards on the course to go get a bike, and it's all the crazy stuff that goes on with other races.
Yeah.
So we kind of limit what your assistance crew can do. But if you're gonna, if some locals are gonna help you, good on them.
Oh yeah, and we were hesitant too because the first day, through the wash with the infamous jump at the end, you spit it back out on the pavement, and at least Gideon and I were just still kind of seeing stars after the jump, just so disoriented. And you get out there, and then there's like 4 or 5 people, maybe 1 or 2 cops, and they're all pointing different directions. And you're like, well, shit, which? And you're like, and I'd accidentally started
at that point. At that point, the cars went a different way.
Oh, that makes sense too.
The cars went a different way, so the cops are trying to get you the way the cars were going because they don't know, they don't really know what the bikes are doing.
Yeah,
and that, remember when I said the riders meeting, I got a call and they said, hey, they told me that the roads weren't closed down across that wash, and I'm like, what the? I did not want to go up that wash.
Yeah,
because half the time they water it with sewage,
right?
and there's sewage running across it and stuff. And I'm like, hey, can we just go down the highway like we usually do and just get out of town on a speed zone? And they wanted us to race up that, and I'm like, it's in a neutral zone. And that's why I said you can go around the jump, because I knew they were going to build a jump. I didn't know exactly where it was. I didn't know I guess my note was right on, but those notes were provided to me, and it just had a little tiny.
Yeah, it was like a bump or something. I don't even think it was a single caution. Maybe it was a single caution. I can't remember.
No, there was no caution on it.
Yeah.
And that's why all the cars just jettisoned off it too, because they had the same road book. And they had the same notes for the first, whatever is 4 kilometers or something. So, now Bob says he did race a Cove A in 24, and it was really good. Mine was all stock for the most part.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you could have sent a picture of that. Maybe you could have just taken a picture like the handlebar grip or something, and tried to win Rooster Endo with that, Bob. He invites it.
Oh, I love it.
Let's see. Trug Flip says, are the Cove KTM clones like the CF Moto bikes?
So totally different. I can actually speak on both of those. I own a CF Moto and a Cove, and a Stark. I own all sorts of I like weird bikes.
I can see this.
And yeah, so the Cove is a completely original chassis and bike design, aside from a few things. So the engine is the bottom end is I believe it's a Chinese company. It's a Chinese original motor, Zhongsheng. Yes. It's a 450. Yep. And then the top end, as far as I understand, is all proprietary Cove. I will say the rally intake is an exact clone of the KTM rally replica intake. Same part numbers.
Yeah. So, yeah. So the funny thing is that it's like they took a picture of a KTM and shaped the plastics like that.
Yeah.
Underneath, it's a steel frame, and it's kind of its own design and shape to kind of made to fit that thing. But from my understanding is they tried to get it close to what they thought the KTM rally bike was. And then it's got Showa-ish clone suspension.
And that's where it gets weird, because it depends on which generation of 450 you got. So Cove ran into sourcing issues post-COVID with manufacturing slowdowns. So Gideon, for example, bought the the 50 state legal low seat bike. So it came with the Yuan, which is the Chinese, it's the Showa clone stuff.
Right.
Mine was the standard 50 state legal model, and it was the first batch imported to the US. So there was like 55 bikes that came with KYB forks and the Chinese rear shock, the Yuan. So my bike has KYB 49 millimeter forks. Like they're great. It's the same ones
Are they like latest generation, like kind of like on the Yamaha?
They're the same ones that are
really?
on the Yamaha and the same ones that are on my Stark.
Okay.
They're great forks. The Yuan stuff is similar deal. So it looks like someone took a part schematic for a Showa shock, like the piston diameters, the shim stacks, like it all looks really, really similar, if not the exact same. But yeah, different. I want to say the geometry is a little bit different than the KTM also. But yeah, aside,
it ended up being different.
yeah, sure.
And from what I understand, like it changed sort of mid production, and you know, like I said, if they're going to change a complete wholesale change, and this is kind of where we're at with the Chinese stuff. You know, some of it is really, really good. I mean, it may be manufactured in the same place, you know, as some of the stuff on other brands. It's like this ability to ship stuff all over the world and claim where it's made is it, you know, it's just different. But it's just kind of the consistency that we become used to with the Japanese brands and now most of the European brands. You know, they have model years that are very defined, and changes don't necessarily take place mid-production run. You know, every once in a while you'll find a Japanese brand that'll do a second production run on a very popular model. They do a limited early release and then a second release. This is what KTM is doing with those Works editions when they were doing it. They were kind of, you know, kind of setting up their tooling and kind of doing a little bit of a test and selling it as a Works edition a little bit early, and then let some of the customers do a little bit of their R&D before they did the final, you know, the final thing, you know, and get and it was, I always thought it was more of a way to, especially when they were making big changes, to give the journalists and the test riders that were going to be telling everybody about these bikes, to get them familiar with it before they act. So it was like the second model year, even though it was the same model year.
Right.
Unless you're setting the world on fire with some new revolutionary thing, which isn't happening these days, generally the first model year kind of runs into some problems, and the second model year is a really good bike. I've always been a big fan of not buying the first year, of kind of getting the second year, because these little tweaks, and whether they tell you or not, the stuff they do make changes.
Oh yeah.
They get a lot better.
Well, that CF Moto is in such a unique position as a brand too, because of the way they operate with IP laws in China versus the US, and like so for example, like their Ibex 450 is probably the most talked about bike that they make right now. They sell in the US. It's an awesome bike. I got to go on the press launch for it a few years ago when it came out in the Philippines. So it's 30 or 40 pounds lighter than a Tenere. It's a 450, not a 700. It comes with KYB suspension. It comes with an adjustable ride height in the back, so you can lower it if you're short or new to riding off road and want that comfort. But like when we went on the launch for that, they only invited, I think it was 5 US press, and they sat us down at the end of that launch. And I mean, like Jimmy, you'd know this, like every OEM brings you out to a press launch and they schmooze you, they give you great food, they try and put you up in a nice hotel. They're doing everything they can to, as not explicitly as possible, influence you to say nice things about their product. And
Correct.
CF Moto did all that. Like they put us up at a nice resort, whole 9 yards, but they sat down at a little dinner after the press launch and they were like, hey, shit on it. And we were like, what? And they were like, what do you hate? Like, don't hold back. You don't need to like try and not hurt our feelings. Like seriously, like we'd love some feedback. Like now we don't want to wait for the article. Like, what do you not like? And I was like, honestly, the bike's really good. The fueling is not great at low RPMs. It's bad. Those are the most wooden front brakes I've ever felt in my entire life. I don't know if the pads are glazed over on every bike or what. And the seat, like I was on the tall seat bike. I was like, but the seat foam is so soft that with a 32-inch inseam on a bike that's got 8 inches of ground clearance, I'm still flat footing it somehow. like with a bend in my knees. And then
Yeah.
six months later, I saw them again in South Dakota at Revzilla's ADV Fest, and they had the production model that was coming to the US. It had different brake pads, had stiffer seat foam, and the fueling was changed. And I was like, "Oh my god, they actually like listen to us."
So that it's interesting because a lot of times in my history, a brand would actually invite journalists out, usually one at a time, usually without telling the other journalists, and let you ride a pre-production bike and sort of do the same thing. And maybe you were allowed to talk about you got to ride the bike, and they would say, hey, we're going to fix this and we're going to fix that if you complained about it. And then, so they would do this with with different media outlets. You're riding kind of like a pre-production bike, and maybe there's a chance they could change it. And then the production bike comes and they tell you they changed all the things you said, whether they did or not. Because I know some brands that I was on development side on one, and I know that they let journalists do it because they knew there was some problems with the bike, and they wanted to see if they noticed it. Well, a couple of them noticed it, and they told them they changed them, and they didn't change them because it was something that wasn't changeable at that point in the development. But I've seen all different levels of that. But yeah, sometimes, especially when it's a quote an importer, not the manufacturer, there's times when the importer is trying to convince the manufacturer to make a U.S. specific change that doesn't quote go over worldwide. So this is a big thing with KTM when KTM was doing a lot of their big changes. I was going to say mid 90s. They were developing all the bikes over in Europe, and it's like, here, KTM USA, this is what you get. And the USA wanted their own specific suspension settings to the point where they're like, hey, tell whatever you say about the suspension, it's okay. Well, that wasn't working very well, even though the bikes were getting raked over the coals in comparisons and stuff. I actually was working at Cycle World once, and I pulled apart a set of KTM suspension, and it had been changed. It had been altered because I didn't realize it at first, but I rode a friend's bike, a customer bike, and it was different than our test bike. So I pulled it apart. It was different. I call him up and I go, hey, I pulled this. Why'd you do that? Well, because it was different than the one that my friend bought, and I wanted to see. So we looked at him, and it's different. He goes, that's the way it was supposed to come.
Oh man.
That was the setting they wanted the bike to come with, and it worked really good. It worked way better than my friend's bike.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, but now my credibility is flushed down the toilet. Because I said it worked like this, and they don't work like that. And then,
oh, sure. Yeah.
I had a reputation for tearing things apart, and I got, I had a lot of trust with manufacturers when we were doing tests. Sometimes manufacturers say that bike is a cheater. When we do a shootout and they go, that bike can't win your shootout. It's a cheater. There's no way. Our bike, brand A here says the brand B that won your shootout. They're like, no way. So we would actually go ride because I wanted to too. I'd say, good, you bring your bike and I'll bring mine, and then I'll have mine of yours, and we'll do a 4-way test on these bikes and see if they're the same. And it was crazy because some of these manufacturers who do their internal comparisons, they would not properly brake in the bikes, or they wouldn't even take the time to adjust the suspension, which is stuff that we did.
Yeah.
Most of your bikes, you're delivered from a manufacturer as a journalist. You are delivered what we would call a perfect stocker. They've run it on the dyno. They've made sure it has the break-in time on it. All the fluid levels are correct. It's a perfect stocker. Whether you're going to get that off the showroom floor, I don't know. Are the bolts torqued properly in the chassis? And that you can wreck a bike by doing something stupid like that. You can their bikes are so good these days, you can screw it up there. But anyways, so I would ride the bikes with the manufacturer, and like, how many hours on this thing? And they're like, well, 3. And our bike had 40 hours on it. I'm like, you need to put 10 hours on this thing, and it comes alive. This is steel chassis days and stuff like that.
Sure.
And the aluminum chassis don't change that much, but the bolt torque does. And there'd be times when you would go with one manufacturer. It's like, hey, did you check the swing arm torque on that thing? And they're like, no. And you go and the thing's all about ready to fall out. And I go, here, tighten this up. And then they're like, oh, wow. And it just, they just rolled it off the showroom floor because that's what the customer is going to do. And then they compare it to their bike and they know that their bike is good. So
Yeah.
it's,
I've had on 2 different press launches in the last 3 years. I've shown up and I've hopped on a bike, and both have been more like ADV or off-road explicit launches. And I was like, man, either this bike's terrible or the rebound in the back is all the way in. And I'll ask, because sometimes they like will advert, like for those of you out there in the world watching, sometimes they'll like make it very clear, hey, if you want us to change your suspension settings, let us know. We have all our mechanics. They'll do that.
right.
Blah, blah. And both times I pulled the bikes in and I was like, hey, the rear feels awful. It feels like it's packing super bad. And like in a way that feels like a defect, not like bad suspension. And sure enough, both those times the rebound was 1 click out or 0 clicks out. Like someone had
All the way.
someone had borrowed the bike that didn't know what they were doing, or it was a street rider who hopped in the dirt and was like, oh, it's like a pogo stick. Let me slow it down. And oh my God. And I was like, man, I'm glad. Like, I don't know. I think a skill that really impresses me about a lot of journalists, like other journalists that are either doing it full time or just like particularly good at what they do. The guys that can go out and ride a bike and evaluate and know that it has good suspension with a bad setup and still be able to like wrap their heads around that and write about it in a short period of time. Like that blows my mind. I wish I was as fast as I was sensitive to shitty suspension setups.
Yeah. I mean, just from doing it for a while, I don't know. I was involved in production testing and stuff. So I kind of know what that sort of feel is. And luckily I actually like it. You know, I mean, people say, well, I got to get my suspension done. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Like what have you done to, like, did you run out of adjustment or the spring's wrong? Or, you know, I'll always ask that. Cause I mean, I know how much time a lot of time is spent to get this stuff right, but I'll hop on a bike and, you know, at a press intro and do a lap and come back in. I'm like, hey, did you check the tire pressure? And they're like, oh yeah, we checked the tire pressure. And I'll go, it's 17, not 12.
Yeah.
And they're like looking at, you know, and sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm way out in left field, you know, but a lot of times, you know, if I know the tire, you know, whatever, but that's the hardest thing about a lot of times traveling to a place you're not familiar with. You go and ride and the dirt's different and stuff. And then you're like, is that the bike or is that the ground? You know,
Right.
Is that the condition versus, and that's what's tough about, I mean, now there's so many people that are just, you know, and the manufacturers love it when somebody with a whole bunch of followers just clicks pictures and go, hey, look at me on this. It's so great. Oh, you know, talking about going to that intro. Oh, you know, sure, we stayed at the Four Seasons and they fed us caviar. And it's like, I'm like, I don't give a crap. I want to ride this bike for 2 days. You know, I've flown over Europe, stood in the line, got to do 2 laps, and that was enough time, you know, and then they shot a photo of you while you're doing it. And then it's like, okay, move on to the next bike. And I'm like, I'm never going back.
Yeah.
This is a disservice to the people that are relying on me to, you know, I mean, I'll guarantee I could probably accurately describe a bike in 2 laps better than most people out there, but that's not the way you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So journalism stories. I'm going to write Monkey Butt 2. I'm going to write it one of these days. I actually should just have AI write it for me and I'll edit it.
Yeah. There you go.
So actually I already have the chapters. I have the outline for it. I should have AI do an outline for it and see how close it gets. AI is going to come and kill me immediately that it becomes self-aware.
Oh yeah.
I've said so many bad things about it, but until then, I'm going to just exploit the crap out of it. So, hey Joe, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I appreciate it. I'm more appreciative that you took the chance to come and do NORRA, and was super stoked to see the outcome. How you guys, both you and Gideon did. Actually, everybody this year. We didn't have, you know, everybody seemed like they had a pretty damn good experience down there, and that
even
makes
Rob
me
Bob.
happy. And Rob Bob, you are the winner of Takamoto's Rooster Endo. I don't care what anybody else says. Actually, you won it in the chat because only one other person voted you up. But and I don't think it was you unless you have a burner account that you jumped in there. So you're the winner of Rooster Endo. So here's what you got to do. You better follow these instructions. You have to send me an email. Reply to that email you sent the photo in, and remind me that you won so I can forward it over to Takamoto and we will get you taken care of. That's a $100 gift certificate from Takamoto. That's takomoto.co on the internet. It's not .com.co, and they have lots of cool stuff. And I'm pretty sure you could probably get a different rally tower from them. Something better, or an ECU. Who knows what you need? Maybe a better camera.
Yeah.
Or one that takes a picture of the whole bike. So, okay. Well, hey, so how do people follow you, and what's your when's Quad Lock coming on as my next major sponsor on this show?
Yeah, we got to get something in the works.
Yeah, because I was telling, I think I told you down there when I found out you did Quad Lock, I was showing you I had my other system. See, I won't even mention it anymore. Have my other system because I like putting sometimes, very rarely, but I do like to have the ability, especially on my adventure bike, to put my phone onto my motorcycle.
Oh yeah, you were talking about something about how bikes changed for KTM in the early or mid 90s, and I was like, oh yeah, like right around the time I was born. And so I very much from the generation that like I was gifted a GPS my senior year of high school, so I can't navigate for shit without a GPS or barely with the road book. So it's not a negotiable. Every bike I have has a Quad Lock mount on it, and that was before I got the job there. So I'll chat and see if we can get something
I need to
going.
get it on my mountain bike because evidently I'm supposed to do Strava and show everybody my heart rate. You know, I don't know about any of these things. I have a GPS inside of my head, so I don't really need it, but sometimes I have to produce a track log for somebody, and it's hard for me to just draw on maps and paper maps anymore.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Jimmy. I really appreciate it. It was really, really fun to talk about it, and the experience, like I said, you put together a hell of a race course, and really lucky that we got to ride it.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I'm stoked that people got to have that experience, and like I said, So where are you on social? Oh
yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Jackson_FOTO as in photo.
Jackson Photo.
Yep, Jackson Photo on Instagram. On YouTube, it's Jackson Photo, same spelling, JACKSONFOTO. And I don't really post a ton of original stuff on YouTube, but I think I have it on my landing page where whether it's motorcycle.com or Revzilla,
people need to go see your
YouTubers.
your videos from Nora. I should call up another one of those. How about let's see if I can get this one and go in here on the thing. I gotta push another. How's this? Is it? No, that's just a photo. Is this a photo? No, it's a video.
Okay, Joe, I know you're nervous. It's your first time doing rally, but this is liaison stage and it's not even time. So just go slow, take your time, and remember someone said something about a jump. That's a cliff. Jesus Christ, 1 kilometer in. What a way to start. Okay, Joe, I know you're nervous. It's your first time doing rally, but this is liaison stage and it's not even
views. That blew up for me. I got 150 or something followers, and I think it's all people who are salty about that jump. Yeah, we're gonna put something together. We've got enough action camera footage between the two of us, so we'll put it together.
On the trail, because that's how we shut this show off, and then I have to figure out how to turn. You saw how hard it was for me to turn the show on earlier, so it gets even worse when I kind of turn it off. But everybody, we will see out there. Thanks to Yamaha, Takamoto, Bulletproof Designs, Fast Company, Scott Goggles, Climb. I didn't wear much Climb today because I didn't ride. I'm admitting it. So with that, we'll see you next time out in the trail. Cheers.
See you guys.
If you liked what you saw in this video, come check us out over at dirtbiketest.com on the webs. We have bike tests, product tests, a lot of fresh dirt, and you can even support us by clicking through our links. Hopefully, we'll see you out in the trail.